Hi everybody, it's Jeanette from Thermogroovers. I'm pleased you've joined me today. Today I'm focusing on building some sausage rolls out of my recipe book. So this recipe was based on a food memory that I had from a young child. So my grandmother used to make sausage rolls. My grandmother was a mum of 15 children and her surname was Poke. And so that's why I've called this recipe Hokie Pokie Sausage Rolls. I couldn't call them Hanky Panky because that wasn't appropriate, but 15 children, that's mind-blowing. Anyway, back to the sausage rolls. I've created this recipe based on my food memory from a young child, and it's very simple. The recipe's in the ebook. If you would like a copy of the ebook, just jump on to down to the description and you'll find the link there. And you can purchase a copy of my ebook online. So today I'm going to show you how I actually build these and to make it a little bit more simplified than just reading the steps in the book. So I hope you can join me, stick around. We're going to have some fun and a few laughs together as well while we're cooking. So I hope you enjoy it. Now, if you've made sausage rolls before, you're going to know all of this. However, if you've not made them very often, you're probably going to enjoy these little tips that I give you. So what I've done previous to now, I've made 2 lots of meat filling for my sausage rolls, and so one batch I used which was fresh, and then the other I prepped and popped into the freezer. Okay, so this is the length of the sausage rolls, and when you cut it into 6 lengths with the pastry around it. So what I've done, I've prepped them like this and popped them in the freezer. And it just makes it quicker for me next time when I want to make a batch of sausage rolls, because I only have to make the pastry. And the bulletproof pastry is in the recipe book as well. It's a great pastry. It's nice and light, but it's flaky and it's basically bulletproof. You can use it for everything. So today we're going to use it with the sausage rolls, but these are my, this is all my meat that I've actually prepped. So I say make it once and eat it twice, right? So if you're going to get your onions out and all the other bits and pieces that go in the sausage roll filling, make 2 batches and freeze one, okay? And then you're good to go to make sausage rolls a little bit quicker next time. And they're still fresh, right? Okay, so moving on to the next step, I'm going to show you how to roll the meat to get a really good consistent length and diameter for your sausage rolls so they look bakery perfect. So let's do that together. Okay, so what we have here is our frozen filling for the sausage rolls. And I'm just going to unwrap it. It's still quite frozen. So when you're making these and the meat's fresh, all you need to do is cut off a length of cling wrap and place the meat on the cling wrap and then roll it like this. And then what you're doing is then rolling it like this to actually get a really good even diameter. All right, now it's not rolling at the moment because that's frozen, but that's what you're aiming for when you're putting the meat together. So in the recipe book I explain how you put it in between the cling wrap, and then you can have them prepped ready to go onto the pastry whilst they're fresh, or you can just twist the ends off and then pop it into the freezer. Now when I pop it into the freezer, so that it actually keeps its shape and it doesn't go all wonky, I place it on the lid of a container and I just sit them like this and line them up like so, and then they just go into the freezer like that until they become solid. And then once they become solid, I take the lid off and then they can just float around in the freezer. But if you place them into the freezer and they're not flat, you're going to end up with this bendy piece of frozen sausage meat. So just a little tip with keeping them frozen and they're nice and straight, just do it like that. The next step with doing our sausage rolls is creating the pastry. And this is bulletproof pastry. This recipe is in my ebook, as I explained before. It's a delicious pastry. I'm super happy with it. It can be used for many, many things. And in my recipe book, I do use it for lots of other things as well. So we're just going to pop in our ingredients and go through the steps of creating the pastry. Okay, so pastry is something that a lot of people can make in their Thermomix, but they don't think to. I'm not sure why. You can actually make it quicker than what it takes to take a ready rolled sheet out of the freezer and let it defrost. So around about 20 seconds it takes to make pastry. So stay with me and I'll show you how that all comes together. So the base of a really good pastry is the fat. And my grandmother, she probably used to use a bit of lard. Now this is our combination of butter and flour together. So it just looks like a crumb. Okay, 5 seconds. It's quick and easy to do. So the base of a good pastry is the amount of fat that's in it. So this recipe gives you the flaky texture, but it doesn't give you that sort of like heavy feel in your mouth either. It's so light and crisp and airy. It's sort of cross between a short crust and a flaky. So have a go at making this. The recipe's in the ebook. Okay, the next thing to put in is our secret weapon, which is obviously the Greek yogurt. And we'll bring that together and then turn it out onto the mat and I'll show you what it actually looks like. Okay, we've nearly finished kneading our pastry. And the next step is taking it out and working with it on the mat. So it's all come together nicely. And the next step is just letting it rest for half an hour in the fridge, just as you would do any standard pastry that you're making. So I'll jump in and show you how I do that. Put some flour on your surface area and turn your pastry out onto your mat or your workbench. And remember to spin off your blade to get the excess pastry from your bowl. Coat your pastry in flour. And what you're going to do is just work it around so it's all coated and there's no chance of it becoming sticky. Now I often shape it up to the shape that I plan on rolling it out, which is the size of that mat. And once I've done that and created the shape and it's covered enough in flour so it's not sticky anymore, I just get a piece of cling wrap and pop it in the cling wrap and then put it in the fridge for it to chill. And all the instructions are in my ebook. Okay, so after the pastry has rested in the fridge, we're going to pop it onto our thermomat and start working with it. So I'll just pop you down here and then you'll be able to see a little bit better. So what we have here is our chilled pastry ready to rock and roll. Okay, now I always keep the plastic aside in case I need it for leftovers, because sometimes you may have a little bit left over. We're just going to put a bit of flour down to get a nice slippery surface and start rolling the pastry. So I'm going to roll it out to basically the width and length that I have here on this mat. And what you'll find is the pastry will get this beautiful flow as you roll it. Now you can do folds if you want to. Traditionally flaky pastry is folded, so if you wanted to do folds you could just do the folds like so, and this is how I actually get you to do my gluten-free pastry. So this can be made gluten-free, so you can do folds if you want to, or you can just roll it out. And so now I've started, I might as well keep going. So we'll just do another little fold and then give it a turn and some more flour. There we go. And again, just rolling it out. And as you roll it, don't apply too much pressure. Just gently roll it so it can, get a bit of length on it. I'm not going to fold it again. Then we just roll it out that way. Always making sure that you have enough flour to avoid your pastry sticking to your surface. Okay. So we just keep working through this until we get it to the size that we want. Now this pastry works really well if you freeze it as well. So if you want to make 2 or 3 batches and pop them in the freezer, it defrosts and works just as well frozen as what it does fresh. There we go. A little bit more. This has a beautiful silky texture. And again, just try and roll it so that you're in keeping with the shape that you're aiming for. And now I'm just going to get a bit of length on it. And it starts to have this beautiful, easy flow when you roll it out. So it doesn't take long to get it to the shape that you're after. Oops. There we go. Just making sure it's not sticking. There's nothing worse than getting to the point where you want to move your pastry and it's stuck to the surface. Now what you can do is just trim up your sides so you've got a nice straight surface to work with, not surface, edge. And that's why I keep the Glad wrap, so that if I want to keep that and make something else with it later, I can. Okay, so next thing we do is place one of our fillings on the pastry. So what we're going to do is just lay that there, and as you can see, it's the perfect length for the pastry. I'll just dry my hands. Okay, and what we're going to do with that is just roll it over. This is a little tool that I like to use with my bread and my pastry, so we're just going to roll that over, and then I've just got the egg wash here, just to make sure that it all glues together. And you're just going to roll that down and get that nice edge on it. Okay, and then we just make a little cut along there, and that's as easy as it is. So you can see my hands are all nice and clean. It doesn't it shouldn't be messy. It should be easy for you to put these together without too much mess. I'll just do another one. There we go. They're still partially frozen, so they might take a little bit longer to cook. And again, we're going to do the same. We'll just roll that pastry over. There we go. Little egg wash there. Now these will go into a really hot oven. The instructions are in my recipe book. And there is a slight change in the temperature throughout the cooking time frame as well. So as you can see, we're starting to create these beautifully filled pastry cases. Now the ratio of the filling, I actually have more meat in mind, because personally that's how I actually like my sausage rolls. Before you slice them, what you can do is just coat them in the egg wash. Right, give them a nice lather of egg wash. I prefer the old-fashioned pastry brush. It just gives a better coverage. It was actually a paintbrush. Now the next thing I do is use this little tool again, and I just cut the sausage roll and then I give that a wipe. Okay. You can make them whatever length you prefer. If you want smaller sized ones, you can do smaller sized ones. There we go. And then it's just a matter of giving them a sprinkle. I always sprinkle them on the tray, save making a mess on the bench. It's all about the little tips. There we go. there you have it. A tray of sausage rolls. I've got a few more to do, but that gives you an idea of how to build them. So into the oven, cook them, steps are in the book, and then you can enjoy them either fresh or you can freeze them.